So this is the first video in our Grace Notes series in which we're catching up with our church members and asking them how God has been showing up in their lives in these past months. And so for the first video, we have member and elder Mike McMackin. I think you're going to enjoy listening to Mike, and you may learn something in the process. And hopefully when he talks about how God has been showing up in his life, you'll become more aware about the places that God has shown up in yours. Enjoy. Mike, thanks for coming out this beautiful afternoon. We're starting this new series on our YouTube channel called Grace Notes, in which we're talking to church members about where God has shown up during these challenging times. And so I'm just going to ask you a starter question, and it's a big one, so we can take it in pieces too. And that is, how's your life changed since March?
Well, changed in February, kind of a big change. Terry and I were divorced officially, and so that was a big change. And then once my business, pet sitting business, that deals primarily when people travel to work. We come in, take care of their dogs, travel for vacation, take care of the pets. But when nobody was going to work or nobody going on vacation, there's nothing really for us to do. And so kind of when that first started and nobody was going out at all, I was like, well, I need to do something. And I kept hearing Kroger was advertising for people to work. And I thought, well, that'll be something. It'll get me out, some physical exercise since I couldn't go to the gym, and help out a little bit, and get first crack at toilet paper. And so I applied at Kroger and got a job in the dairy department, lifting milk crates and stacking cheese and yogurt and
So have you been doing that since March or April?
Yeah, late March. It's been 6 months.
So the pet setting business, I mean, that hasn't been your only career. Most of your career was in communications, right?
Yeah, I worked in television for 25 years,
and
then retired from that, and then bought the pet sitting franchise about a year later.
In part because people said it was recession-proof?
Well, that was kind of part of it, or a little bit, because that was the tail end of the recession in 2010 when I first started. But people spend their money on their pets, but if they don't, most of our clients, stopped going to work and stopped using us. There were still several clients, though, that have kept using us, kind of primarily, like a couple clients are still going to work. A couple people wanted to keep up the routine, and even though they're working at home, they don't want to be disrupted by having to take the dog out, so they still have us come and do it. So getting a little bit of a business for that, and my sitters doing that, and that's been nice. But we also had several people that still pay us, give us $200 a month or whatever, even though we're not coming, but just as a way for their appreciation. And that just was
that's a sign of God's grace.
Absolutely. I mean, it was just very humbling that people are so appreciative of us and want to make sure doing what they could to help out us and the sitters and me specifically. And that was just very humbling and very kind of restored my faith in people and all that people would when times are tough, people look after each other and that kind of thing.
Well, tell me about Kroger. I mean, all of a sudden, besides the toilet paper, I guess, and getting first crack at the wipes and the hand sanitizer, we've been talking about people working at Kroger or at the pharmacy or the gas station that we take those people for granted, even though we shouldn't, until we realize that they enable us to shelter in place when we're sheltering in place, and just they're a key part of our lives, even though we often don't notice or appreciate or look at them. So one day you're on one side of that counter, and the next day you're on the other side. And so what can you share some of maybe a funny story of what's happened since you've been at Kroger, or just kind of how you found yourself in a different place and how that hopefully changes your perspective after this is over and life's more back to normal?
Yeah, it's at first there was a lot of people would express their appreciation for being here. So we're thankful you're here. Thanks for being here. That kind of thing, which was nice. And But it was, at first it was just learning and, trying to interact, be nice with people, can I help you? Are you finding everything okay? That kind of thing. It was kind of funny because a lot of men were, I guess they were at home. The wife was like, I've been shopping for all this time. You go and do the grocery shopping. And, men, where's the beer? Where's the milk? Where are the eggs? Where are the feminine products? And, those kind of things.
Yeah.
So it was, a little funny for people that probably hadn't been to a grocery store in 10 years trying to find stuff. But that was kind of funny. And, but though, I can tell when, ask somebody if they're helpful. I'll see somebody that kind of has a quizzical look, and I'm not sure if they can't find something or if they just can't make up their mind to get, extra sharp or mild cheddar cheese. But, I'll say, can I help you with something? And some people are like, no, thank you. I'm good. Thanks for asking. Or other people will just be like, no, or other people will ignore you, and stuff. And that's fine. And it's just been not so much humbling, but just made me realize that, people kind of, I felt like kind of looked down on me because I'm just some stock clerk at Kroger, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so it's been kind of good to, just to remember, myself that, don't take people for granted or that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's something that's been good. And two, like you did your sermon about kindness and being kind to people. And there were a lot of times that week after that, and even more than just that week, but specifically that week, I'd kind of say to myself, to people, be kind before, I would address them, because, somebody will get the, Sargento cheese, and then they decide they don't want it, and they'll stick it in the Kraft cheese bin, and I'm just like, what are you thinking?
Yeah.
And stuff. So it's that can be just kind of annoying when you spend time trying to make that look as good as possible, and somebody just does something like that. Can be kind of frustrating.
Really. Yeah. So I mean, it's no secret to me you're a huge Appalachian State fan and a graduate. I hear you had an encounter at Kroger with another App State fan.
Yeah, there was a lady that came in there. She was wearing a T-shirt, and I thought maybe she went there, and so I said, I like your T-shirt, and she said, thanks, and I said, did you go to school there? And she said, no, my son does. And I said, oh, well, what's he studying? And she goes, communications. And I said, oh, that's what I studied. And the whole time we're having this conversation, she just has this look of horror on her face that, I'm spending, 4 years of out-of-state tuition for my son to go to get a communications degree from Appalachian, and he's going to spend out working his whole life stocking cheese at Kroger. So,
yeah, and you didn't have a chance. I mean, there was no time to explain.
Well, I wasn't gonna get into that anyway.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of funny, and I relayed that story to the chairman of the communications department at Appalachian, and she got a kick out of that. But it's that's kind of, I guess, the best story I like to tell of all this going on. But it's But it just kind of has been a good, for me to feel like I've helped people, being there for them to help do those things. And
do you see yourself still doing that? I mean, after hopefully your business is beginning to pick back up, and maybe within 12 months you might be fully back. I mean,
well, yeah. I mean, kind of the way that Fetch is the name of the company, and I've kind of structured that where I don't do a ton of the pet sitting. That actually, I have sitters to do the sitting. They that way they get money and that kind of thing. And I spend more time kind of marketing, networking, trying to build the business, that kind of thing. So it's not like I'm doing a ton of walks anyway. And so with this, a lot of times I've been able to, that I have the time, and it hasn't taken away, and I'm hoping to continue it. It looks like I'm going to get a job working in the as a pharmacy tech. So that'll be something a little different that hopefully it'll work out where that I can, at least on a little bit of basis, just because I've enjoyed it. And it's been something different. And, initially the money part of it wasn't one of the high things, but as this has stretched on longer and longer, a lot farther than I certainly thought it would, that's been important. And my mom thought it was the greatest thing in the world. And I told her, I'm going to get a job at Kroger. And she just thought, oh, I'm so proud of you. And she just thought
Finally,
that was,
yeah.
she thought that was great. In fact, her birthday's coming up, and I had somebody take a picture of me in the freezer with my apron on, and I'm going to have that framed to give to her for her birthday.
Oh my gosh. She's going to love that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So what about, how's your faith? I mean, has your faith grown, do you feel like, during this time? Or has it been stagnant, or has it been up and down? I mean, this, you went from one way of life to a totally different one. I mean, my life has changed, but not like yours has. I mean,
well, there's always been kind of changes in my life. I mean, when I, through like even a previous divorce, when I left, I came to Atlanta to work at Channel 11, and that was just not a good situation. And 15 months later, I left there, not really having plan. I was married at the time then, and ended up somebody that I'd worked with previously set me up at the Weather Channel, and spent 10 years there, 10 great years there, and that was awesome. And so those kind of changes and have happened, and I've always kind of felt like I've adapted fairly well to change. And working in television, you have to adjust to change because things happen so quickly just in the day of doing your job. But I feel just very strong in my faith. I know that that God, and I pray a lot for Him to to give me the strength to handle things, and to pray for thanks. Certainly, pray that I'm thankful for our clients that continue to pay us and use us for things. Just kind of the wisdom to be able to handle situations and the strength to do things. I just feel like that a lot of opportunities, with this pharmacy opportunity coming up. I mean, I just feel like that's something, I don't know if He's rewarding me or what, but my faith, just it's nice to be able to get those, I don't want to say necessarily rewarded or whatever, but that it's, that something happens, and that's just makes me feel real good.
Yeah, yeah. Well, you have such an interesting story, and I have to say you're inspiring to me. I mean, that you've been able to, I don't know, I think resilience is the right word. I mean, you've been pretty resilient through this, and I think you've seen the good in it, and it seems like you're patient and looking forward to whatever might be next, but you're okay with what is right now. And I mean, that maybe that's grace, maybe that's God's gift. Maybe you're not normally like that, or maybe you are, but both to me seem like a healthy way to respond to what has become really stressful for a lot of people. And you seem to be coping, or moving through it.
Yeah, I mean, I've always kind of felt that I don't get overly excited on great things, because I know something bad's going to happen. But when something bad happens, I don't dwell or feel, oh my God, because I know something good's going to happen soon too. And that's just kind of the way that, I've just kind of always tried to deal with things. And so it just kind of try and stay kind of even keeled on things, and, not get too high or too low.
Now the important question, App State, how are they going to do this year?
Well, I had a tough loss Saturday to Marshall.
My parents' alma mater.
Yeah. And Appalachian and Marshall have a long history of playing, back in the Southern Conference.
Can you go to a game, or are they all?
Well, North Carolina isn't allowing crowds. The first week it was no more than 50 people at a game, but players' parents complained, and so the governor upped it to 350, but like only parents of players. So hopefully in October that maybe will get changed in fans. We have a game October 7th that I'm certainly hoping to go to, if it's allowed. So, but looking for another good year.
Well, I'm glad you're part of this church, Mike, and I'm glad you came to share kind of what's been going on with you. I know a lot of people are going to be interested about that. I, for one, am also grateful that you didn't go out of business, because Fetch takes care of our dog, and when we go out of town, our 3 tree frogs and our hamster, as well as our gecko. So you're an important part of keeping the pets that we see as part of our family healthy and alive, and so we look forward to continuing with Fetch and continuing to get to see you here. And so thank you for your time.
You're welcome.
All right, let's do it again. This is going to take 2 hours, just
That's
so you
fine.
know. Okay.
I just need to go get fingerprinted by 5:30.